Hey everybody, this is Beth, and I am here with Cool Prisoner 93's sixth grade curriculum. Um, so very quickly, I just want to give like a quick background for anybody who might be watching this but doesn't know, hasn't watched our other videos, because they might not know like why we're choosing the curriculum we're choosing or where we're at or blah blah blah. So just a quick background. So my son, Cool Prisoner 93, is 10 years old, and he is a sixth grader, and he was in public school up until January of this year, 2015. He got pulled out at the beginning of the year, and for um, immediately when I pulled him out, he did some subject acceleration because he didn't have advanced placement classes or gifted classes or anything like that in the school he went to. So he was being, I thought, held back in some stuff. So immediately we did some math and ELA acceleration, especially math, and then other things, kind of slowly. Those were the most important things I think for me to figure out, since you're new to this, and then everything else sort of came in around it. Now he officially, as of probably about May 1st, almost a month ago, um, it got to the point where he had done his, CAT test for the year, and everything was over for fifth grade. And I was like, why is he still in fifth grade? Like, why aren't we moving along? So we moved along. So now he's officially in sixth grade, but some of his things are already partway through, and some of the things are almost completely over. So nothing is, he doesn't do the same grade level for everything. So I just wanted to put that out there in case anybody was watching this who is going to homeschool who maybe is not in that situation. Some of the stuff might not make sense, but um, he's technically in sixth grade is where he's at. So that's what this stuff is geared towards. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is social studies. He loves social studies. It's maybe his favorite subject. And when he first got pulled out, I let him choose his own curriculum. And he did this time too. He's always chosen his own curriculum. So when he first got pulled out, he chose the social studies curriculum that he chose was a textbook, and he loved it. But for sixth grade and for world history, he wanted to do more project-based learning. Some people call it unit studies and stuff like that, but he wanted to do more project-based stuff. So that is what our goal is for sixth grade and what we've been doing so far. So the two books that I have for social studies are just things I bought at thrift stores. And it's basically just a timeline to help us get through, so we follow everything in order and to make sure I kind of don't miss anything. So far, we're really concentrating right now on the ancient civilizations. So say, for instance, Egypt, which is what we're kind of just got done with. We did Egypt for about like a week and a half or 2 weeks, probably more like 2 weeks. And we read in the book. So that was our first day. And then we read about the art that was going on at the time. And then we did some projects on it. I had him come up with what he wanted to do for projects. He did some projects on it. We watched some Netflix videos. And then we were done with all the, however many there are, 5 or 6, I can't remember now, ancient civilizations. Then we'll go to the museum and sort of do like in person, actually looking at things. But that is how we're doing social studies for sixth grade. So sixth grade social studies. The next thing we're doing is going to be, I think everyone has probably heard of art of problem solving, at least in the gifted community where I live. I think most people who have mathy kids use art of problem solving, or Beast Academy, who does the elementary version of art of problem solving. This is their pre-algebra. He's at least halfway through it. I'm not sure exactly where he's at, but he's at least halfway through it. So we're gonna, I think, stick with this. The only thing that he doesn't always enjoy about this is the way that we do math is he reads the book himself. I don't try to teach him math. He is somebody who is I would say he's a mathy kid, but he's not someone who sits around all day and does, calculus for the fun of it. There's a lot of things he's never heard of before because he doesn't go around reading about math. But when introduced with math, he picks it up very easily. So do with that what you will, but this seems to be a pretty good fit for him. The thing that the way that we do it is he reads through and there'll be problems at the beginning. I won't tell him what chapter we're in because I don't know if it's all kids or gifted kids or just him, but he's not stupid. And if you're in a rounding section or in a decimal section, whatever section you're in, and then you say, how do you solve this? He's like, well, obviously you solve it this way. That's the chapter we're in. So I try not to tell him what chapter we're in. I give him the 10 or so problems at the beginning of the chapter, and he tries to figure them all out. Most of the time he gets them right. Sometimes he doesn't get them right. A lot of times he gets them right, but doesn't do it the way that book says. So then we go back over it, and sometimes he's like, I don't understand why they would solve it that way. That's idiotic. So that's the only thing he runs into sometimes, is he doesn't like the way that they do it. Sometimes they do it in a like convoluted kind of way that doesn't always make sense. And I don't know if it's because they're trying to gear you more towards when you get to the higher levels, or if it's because it's intended for kids who are going to be doing math competition and they're trying to teach you tricks and stuff like that. But sometimes he's like, he doesn't agree with the way that they solve things, but that's fine. It's exposing him to it, and that's great. So art of problem solving, he loves it. Also probably, again, at least in my gifted homeschool community, maybe in everybody's, everyone's heard of Michael Clay Thompson. So this is what we're trying for ELA for 6th grade. So far we like it. He did grammar right when he first came out of public school because they hadn't really studied grammar at all. So that's the first thing when I was like, what am I going to teach him for ELA? I bought a grammar, which is in one of my other videos. I bought like a grammar curriculum, and he did that. And then when it was time to pick what we were going to do next, this is what I picked out, and so far so good. It's broken up into, the beginning part is grammar, which we already completed and probably went through pretty fast because we had just done grammar, so there really wasn't any new information in that. So we whipped through that pretty quickly. There's 3 different parts. Essay, this is like reading, writing, and then poetry. And so far he enjoys it. He really likes the poetry. He's never one that was really into poetry before, but he likes the way that they explain poetry. He likes the way that they talk about, it's not just rhyming. It's using different, it's maybe putting a lot of S's into something, or a certain sound that you repeat throughout the poem, even if it doesn't rhyme, that helps get across a certain mood or something like that. And the way that it's explained, he just really likes it. He started doing his own poetry. He's 10, so usually it's about, his poetry is not, horses and flowers. His poetry is Pokemon and Mario Brothers, but who cares? He's writing poetry and it's awesome. So that's that. Vocab, I really wanted something that really got on vocab because his public school didn't have vocab. They had vocab in like 1st and 2nd grade, and then they didn't have it for 3rd or 4th grade because they were so worried about preparing for tests. So he is somebody that actually scores really high on ELA portions of testing, and he reads really high levels, and all that's great. But sometimes I notice that he writes with words or says words, not necessarily crazy hard words, but he uses words, and although he uses them in the right context, I feel like he doesn't really know what they mean. Like if you really had to say what they were, I don't know that he would be able to tell you, if that makes sense. So I really wanted to make sure that he knew what the words meant and all that kind of stuff. Plus they do like the root words and stuff like that in there, so that's awesome. And then the Essay Voyager just teaches you how to write different essays. Make sure you have the right outline. Make sure you're not using, first person if you're not supposed to, blah, 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 blah. The other things there's a couple things that he picked out because I wanted him to have a lot of exposure to writing for middle school. For me, at least in my opinion, middle school should all be about practicing your writing so that by the time you get into high school, you know how to write everything. You do it well and you have practice at it. So I want him to write, if not every day, like a couple times at least a week, either on his blog or just, in a binder or something like that. So I needed something that would give him good writing prompts, and this is one that he picked out. It's called Unjournaling, and let me see if I can get an example of one. So this one says, the Jar Jar Binks character in Star Wars Episode 1 was intended to be endearing and serve as a comic relief. Instead, audiences found Jar Jar to be rather annoying. What if you could write the annoying Jar Jar out of Star Wars prequels? Right at the beginning of the missing chapter that gets rid of Jar Jar. So, the thing I like about it is that each one is, it writes, you have to write with a purpose. It gives you what you have to write about. Some of them say, use a lot of this letter or that letter. So you have to think about actual words that you're using. Sometimes it just makes you do a certain point of view, whatever. But if left to his own devices, then every day when I'm like, okay, write your blog or write in your journal, it would just be like, okay, well, if I designed, Nintendo Land, this is what I would have. And that's great that he likes writing about it, but I want him to be thinking more than just that. So I like the different prompts. So that's what that is. The other one that he picked out is he loves mysteries. So this one is writing mysteries in the classroom. It makes you take a mystery. I was going to say murder mystery, but it doesn't have to be murder mystery. It makes you take a mystery, and then it makes you backtrack all the way through. So you have to figure out, what is your setting going to be, your mood going to be, who are the characters involved, who are going to be your suspects, who is going to be the detective trying to figure it out. It made sense in my head. I'm sure there's other things you could write that would make you write with purpose, but to me, a mystery was like the epitome of like, you can't BS your way through it. Your characters, you have to be laying clues out through your story. You know what I mean? You have to be laying clues out. You have to be thinking about what you're doing. The setting is important. Who the characters are important. You can't just throw people in for the fun of it. It really, in my mind, and hopefully that's how it turns out, it really made me feel like he would have to really think about all parts of his writing and all parts of his story. And then the thing that's great is, he can write one and then, wait a month or whatever, and then he can go back and write another one with a completely different story and completely different characters, but using the same outline from how this goes through. So, they have you write, like right here, it talks about writing clues in your plot line, the crime scene, and the victim. It talks about all of it. It talks about where you lay it out, how you lay it out, developing character through personality. I love that it makes you write, descriptive, and yeah, I guess, like I said, it just makes you write with purpose, which is awesome. The next thing that he chose for his elective was philosophy, which is awesome. And it just asks you different things. Like one of them, I think, was like, are you a good person? And then it talks about, okay, well, what do you think makes a good person? And then he can write about it. We can talk about it, all those things. He loves it. The last thing he picked out was his science. He is not a science person, but when he saw these, he fell in love. So these are going to be his science, at least for the beginning of 6th grade. The first one is CSI Expert. It takes you through blood stains, fingerprinting, all that kind of stuff, and explains it all. The one example that I saw when I looked in it was, it tells you the different, like 11 or something different things that they look for when they do handwriting analysis, and then it has you analyze your own handwriting. He just loved the idea of it. He loved everything about it and wanted to get it. So that's going to be one of ours. The other one is Science Sleuths, where it gives you a crime scene. It gives you clues, it gives you fingerprints, it gives you suspects, and then this one is more analyzing. So you have to like put the whole thing together and figure out if you can figure out what happened and who did it and all that kind of stuff. So that is going to be his sciences, at least for right now. I'm trying to think. I already told about what he was doing on his computer. Other than that, he takes drum lessons right now. I think he's going to take piano lessons come fall. He wants to try doing piano for a while, so he's going to do drums at home and piano in lessons. And I think that might be it. If you guys have any comments, suggestions, whatever, leave them in the comment section. And I don't think I missed anything. I think that's it. So thanks for watching and happy homeschooling, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.